this episode of The Locker Room. I am your host, Jake Homan. I hope everyone had an eventful spring break. If not eventful, let's just say it was relaxing, a week away to get from school. But here I am, joined with me today, Tom Santaniello, and first special guest, actually, Ethan Sorell. Thanks for joining me in the show today, guys.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
A lot has actually happened in the sports recently. A lot of big moves in the NFL, a lot of contracts signed in the MLB, big extensions actually, and a lot of just drama actually going on in the NBA. So what we're first going to talk about today is the NFL free agency and what happened these past couple weeks, because you haven't been in the show for a couple weeks. So starting off, Antonio Brown, he's a Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. He got traded to Oakland Raiders for a third-round pick and a fifth-round pick. Odell Beckham Jr., he got traded to the Browns for a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and Jabril Peppers. And Le'Veon Bell, he actually didn't get traded. He signed a 4-year, $52 million deal with the New York Jets. And these are all big superstars, so these are all huge deals in the NFL. But which of these superstars do you feel got the better deal? Why or why not? I'll start with you, Tom.
I think it's pretty clearly Odell Beckham Jr.
Mm-hmm.
If once you saw that Baker, kind of the energy he brought to Cleveland last year, people knew that something special was brewing. They just added an elite number one receiver to pair with Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. That offense is going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. And it's not just going to be a problem next year. All these guys are under contract. They're all young. Cleveland's back.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of who's getting the most out of it, if you look at the three teams, I mean, I guess you can make a case that Darnold is kind of in the same category as Baker, but I think Baker's the best quarterback of the three of them. Mm-hmm. So I think, no other team has a number two receiver like Jarvis Landry, like the Browns do. Mm-hmm. Odell's got everything he's probably wanted his entire career.
Yeah, it's that LSU connection they had too before,
right. Juice and OBJ back together.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I agree. I also think Odell got the best deal of the three. Mm-hmm. However, I must say, Antonio Brown at 30 years of age, only being paid $2 million a year less than Odell, cannot be overlooked. And I think he's in a position now where he's not going to be the center point of a messy locker room. So he got out of Pittsburgh, which I think is good for him. As far as Odell goes, now he brings him back into Super Bowl contention. And Le'Veon can't be overlooked as well. He's going to be the second overall highest paid running back in the league. Yeah,
I think that Le'Veon and Sam Darnold connection will actually be going forward good for the Jets and bad for Tom Sam's Patriots. But
I'm not worried. Count them, 6.
Whatever. I'm just going to ignore that. But yeah, a lot has happened in the NFL recently, and so all these players will definitely be looking forward to win some championships. But talking about Le'Veon Bell's contract, a bigger contract actually happened in the Major League this past week or so. Mike Trouts signed a 12-year, $430 million extension with the Los Angeles Angels, which shatters the previous largest contract in sports that Bryce Harper actually held about a couple weeks ago when he signed with the Phillies. And it's actually just absurd to think about this money he's being paid. But as far as going forward, where does this put Trout in the conversation as one of the best players in the league? Did he get this money for that exact reason, or is somebody like Mookie Betts? He actually just recently declined a 8-year, $200 million extension with the Boston Red Sox. So he's obviously wanting more, and him seeing Trout getting that type of money, these players are all thinking, oh, why can't I get that? They all want the same. But going forward, do you think that this will be the highest contract in sports for a while, or is somebody just going to top that, eventually? I'll start with you, Ethan.
Well, there's no question it's going to be this way for a while where he's the top paid athlete in sports. But I do think this is an opportunity for other players to start looking towards saying, hey, I can be that next big contract. 9 of the top 10 contracts all time have come from baseball. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we're looking at baseball as a medium where players can start making significant amounts of money, this is a perfect platform for players to start advocating on their behalf.
If you want to get paid, man, go to the league.
Additionally, though, we're looking at a player who may go down one day as the best ever. So it may be a fair minute before we see another contract like this one, but it is definitely a platform by which other players can start using them to negotiate better contracts for themselves.
Right. It's actually funny. I guarantee you Kyler Murray is just rethinking his decision now from playing football. But What do you think about that, Tom?
I agree with Ethan. I mean, we're not going to see Mike Trout again for a while.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while before we see a player that was this dominant from the second he stepped into the league. But you were talking a little bit about how Mookie Betts and guys like that might be looking for Trout money. I don't think that Trout's necessarily resetting the market. I think it's players like Manny Machado and Bryce Harper that are resetting the market. I mean, they're great players. They're all-stars, but they're getting paid upwards of $300 million.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily think of them in that upper echelon of guys who deserve that amount of money. So, like I said, we're not going to see a $430 million contract again for a while. It's going to take a special type of talent, and it's going to be a while. I mean, the cap's always getting restructured and increase, decrease, so maybe we'll see something like that. But Trout's going to be the number one guy in sports for a long time.
The only question is, though, with Mike Trout getting this type of money, he's been in the league for, 7 or 8 years now, I believe, and he's only been in the postseason once. They're giving this money to this guy, and they obviously have faith in him going forward. But it's just, you sure you want to give that much money to a guy who's only taking you to the postseason once?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to take the chance that you can build through the draft. You don't have one of the best players of this era. You have a generational type talent that we may never see again. You can't let him go. You have to lock him up long term.
Yeah.
If you want to be relevant in postseason contention like the Angels were a couple years ago, I mean, they made it to the ALCS a few times. Mike Trout needs to be a part of that. They can't let him go and try to disperse that money to lesser known players. There
were talks actually about actually Bryce Harper trying to recruit Mike Trout to Philly after his new contract, but
clearly went well.
Yeah, it sure did. But I think that was very far-fetched because the money they gave to Bryce Harper, just how could they even afford Trout, when he made that kind of money? But moving forward, Russel Westbrook, as we know, can be a little bit of a emotional drama-type person in the NBA. But recently he had an altercation with a fan at the Utah Jazz game a couple weeks ago, and apparently he claims that he was told, get down on your knees like you're used to, which to him obviously was offensive, and he took it inappropriately. But this isn't actually Westbrook's first instance. We've seen him in a couple other times like this, and actually it also isn't the first instance at a Utah Jazz basketball game. So we're seeing similarities here in this situation. But despite Westbrook's use of inappropriate language towards this fan, because he felt so offended and he, just took it personally, whatever. But is he in the right or the wrong here? If should the NBA strive to protect the players more? I guess is what I'm saying. Tom, I'll start with you.
What he said wasn't right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you heard the quotes. It wasn't safe for work, so I'm not going to repeat it.
Not something we can repeat on here. No,
but,
for sure.
When you're threatening a man and his wife and his family, you can't do that.
Yeah.
When you're a public figure like Russell Westbrook, you got to find a way to bite your tongue in situations like that. But I do agree with where he's coming from. The NBA absolutely needs to do more to protect their players, because players are getting slurs thrown at them all the time. The players are the brand. Without players like Russell Westbrook, where's the NBA?
Exactly.
So if they're not going to protect your players, then you're not going to have a league that's been on the upswing more recently. They need to protect their players. Players need to be the priority of the league. It has to be a player-driven league.
What do you think about that?
They absolutely need to do more to protect their players. This isn't the first time this has happened with Russell Westbrook. So it is specifically a problem with just him. However, I think that in Utah, a place that is ridden with there's still some sentiment there over racism, and especially amongst the fans. Utah is known for having somewhat of a rowdy fan base.
Yeah.
And when you're in the midst of a game, you can't blame Russell for backlash. I mean, he has adrenaline firing. He's running up and down the court at 100 miles an hour. So when he elicits such a response, when the fans elicit such a response from the players, they can't be shocked because it's on them. And there should be a mutual respect there. And the fact that that the NBA hasn't done more already to stop fans from interfering with players during the game is not acceptable at this juncture.
Yeah. Like I said, though, this wasn't the first instance at the Utah Jazz Arena. And actually, I guess you could say it's good. It's progress. Utah actually, I believe the Jazz banned that specific fan that had the altercation with Russell Westbrook.
Justifiably.
Yeah, justifiably, right. And actually, I think they're...
There was a second man who got banned, too.
Yeah, I think from a while ago, though. But just because of after that made the headlines, they realized, okay, we need to set the laws down, set the boundaries and so forth. But if you guys don't have anything else to add, that's
I
probably
mean,
going to close off this show today.
Not
So-
even just the NBA, in general, just leagues. All leagues need to do more to protect their players. What was it, like 2-3 years ago, a fan threw like beer on, who was it, Cliff Averill, Calais Campbell, something like that. It was a Jags
Something like
Seahawks
that.
game.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
I know you can say that too with the whole laser pointing to Tom Brady during the AFC Championship game.
Okay, if the roles were reversed, it'd be a big deal, but we're not talking about it. It's fine. Just the players got to get protected. They're the money makers. They're what makes sports great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, guys. So I'm just going to have to let you go. Thanks for joining us this week in this episode of The Locker Room, and we hope that we caught you exactly what you needed to know and hear in the sports world this week. Once again, I'm happy to have you guys on the show today. My special guests, Tom Santaniello and Ethan Sorell. Thanks for having me here.
Anytime.
Thanks for being on my show today, guys. Thanks a lot. But yeah, and we'll see you next week.